So Les Plastiques d'Essai, we're a recycler conditioner. We provide materials for the piping industry. And coming to this PPI event, we get to see the view of the entire industry on use of recycled materials. So getting a lot of information on where people see our products in the future and where some of these standards are changing and what we need to adjust as a supplier. So the biggest value that we get at attending the semi-annual and the annual meetings, each have their own value. I find that the semi-annual is a lot often on the technical side. So we'll learn about some of the standards, what's coming up, really get people together. The annual meeting, I find there's a lot more, I'd say, directors and presidents of some of these organizations, and that allows our team to network with their team too, and really get some feedback on where the industry is heading, and really look at some long-term goals as an industry so that we can, as suppliers, help the industry go forward and also provide some input of what's possible on our side. What do we see as possible in recycling, how we recycle their products, and evolve that way. In our case, so for Les Plastiques d'Essai, the sustainability committee and the sustainability meetings are very interesting for us. Again, being part of recycling, it's right in our backyard. So we do, we'll see again where people are seeing it, how some of the manufacturers are integrating it, whether, whichever division, every division has a bit of their way or their position now with sustainability. So seeing, giving a perfect example, drainage, there's a lot of integration of recycled materials. And when it comes to conduit, not as much, but you can see the evolution and the work that's being done there to see how do we integrate recycled materials. So for us, there's a direct relation there, but also as a whole, just being in these meetings and understanding some of the objectives, of PPI as a whole, as an organization. So being part of PPI really helped me. So I'm a younger member of the PPI, joined the plastic industry 4 years ago and came right to a PPI. What's interesting is we're surrounded by people that have had very long careers. So the networking with some of these people that, some of them are now friends, I'd even say mentors. So you can go out there and ask them about the industry and where do they see growth, or how should I adjust maybe some of the work that we're doing, and how do we reach out to these people? So personally, I really love that side, because plastic in general is not something you can Google or YouTube and get a really nice video or an education or a background. So networking with these people and getting feedback and learning from great people like Michael Plummer, for example, that really finds a way to make some really complicated documents a lot more simple. So I think that's where I've learned a lot in the last 4 years, and I realize now in meetings that I'm quoting stuff that I learned at these meetings. So I think that for some young people in the industry, this is a great place to really get that industry knowledge. Yep, so this will be my 4th year at PPI. I've been doing these semi-annual and the annual events as a member of Les Plastiques d'Essai. I'm essentially replacing I'd say a legend here, Serge Bourret, that unfortunately passed away. So I was his next replacement. And yeah, so been at PPI since the start. Evidently, I started during the pandemic, so the first year wasn't able to participate, being in Canada, but been there since the start. I've been trying to come to every meeting. So Les Plastiques d'Essai we're members of the drainage division, and again, as a recycler, that right now is currently the area in which more recycled materials are being used. But we also recently joined the PCD division as they're looking for, there's a task group that's been created for recycling and conduit. So that's, we're being on that committee and seeing how recycled materials can be integrated. So trying to participate as much as we can with them. And again, understanding what some of the technical sides of putting in recycled materials. So it's not just snap a finger and get it inside the materials. So really learning what we can do more on our side, and ideally provide some information to them on how to put recycled materials. I've gotten involved in the recycling and conduit task force, and again, it's based on maybe not myself, I'm not the most technical person at our company. We do have a chemist that takes care of that, but I'm their representative on that task force to really get feedback from the industry, bring it back to our side, and then come back at the next meeting with findings that we've had. We've also been involved in wherever we can help. If there's places where we can supply materials for testing. There's a group from Michael Plummer, for example, doing some tests with the group. Well, if we can provide some of the materials and give them the possibility to test to get these standards approved. So like I said, the brief of our technical work would be on that division right now. And I know that my predecessor, Serge Bourret, was very involved in recycled materials inside of drainage pipe and getting those materials approved also. So that's a breadth of my technical work. One of the big things that PPI does is it brings us together. I mean, if you look at geographically where a lot of these companies are positioned, we won't always have time to go and visit each of the plants or bring people to our plant. Coming here together brings knowledge from different areas, different backgrounds, and really putting all that together to have a full understanding of what the industry is looking at. So I think that a lot of the recycling projects and putting recycled materials within the standards, if it wasn't for PPI, I don't believe that it would have gone as fast. So we strongly believe plastic pipe is a sustainable choice. Again, being in the position we are, we know that we supplied recycled materials into plastic pipe for a lot of manufacturers, but also we see their materials coming back. And I think that part of the discussion I find very interesting, and I'd hope the message would go out there a lot more, is that some of these materials, recycled materials that we're putting back in, have a 100-year life. So you're taking a plastic bottle, putting it to the curve, comes back to a recycling facility, and goes back to a pipe that has a 100-year life. That's a great story for a lot of manufacturers and users of these pipes.